Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Lecture 1, Class 9th, Subject English. In this lecture, we are going to discuss one grammar topic, that is tenses. So in this lecture, we will first look what is the meaning of tense, then we will have types of tenses, and then we will discuss present tense in detail with its subtypes, parts, structure and uses of each and every tense with examples. Let's start with the meaning of tense. So what is tense? The word tense is derived from Latin word tempus, which means time. A verb indicates the time of an action, event or condition by changing its form. So tense is the form of verb that denotes the time of an action and its degree of completeness by changing its form. Based on time frame, the verb tenses may be categorized according to the time frame. And according to the time frame, that means that when the action actually happened, the tenses are classified into three types: present tense, past tense and future tense. Present tense. Present tense expresses an unchanging, repeated or reoccurring action or situation that exists only now. It can also represent a widespread truth. That means present tense talks about the actions or the events that is happening in the present time. Past tense. Past tense expresses an action or situation that was started and finished in the past. That means the action or the events that happened in the past, that includes past tense. Then we have future tense. Future tense expresses an action or situation that will occur in the future. That means that has not happened, that is not happening now, but will somehow happen in the future. Based on aspect verb. Tenses may also be categorized according to aspect. Now, what is aspect? Aspect refers to the nature of the action described by the verb. There are four aspects: indefinite or simple, continuous or progressive, perfect or complete, perfect continuous. So each tense, that is, we have general three tense: present, past and future, and each of these are further classified into its four subtypes based on aspect verb, and they will be indefinite or simple, continuous or progressive, perfect or complete or perfect continuous. Simple or indefinite. The three indefinite tenses, that is simple present tense or present indefinite, simple past or past indefinite, simple future or future indefinite. So these indefinite tenses describe an action but do not state whether the action is finished. Continuous or progressive. Now respectively, there will be three continuous tenses and incomplete we can say, or we can say progressive tenses that describe an unfinished action. Perfect tense. The three complete tenses or perfect tenses describe a finished action. So three tenses means present perfect tense, past perfect tense and future perfect tense. They describe a finished action. Last one we have perfect continuous tense. To combine the complete tenses and the incomplete tenses to describe an action which was in progress and then finished. So perfect continuous tense describes the incomplete actions when they get finished and which action was in progress at what time and then at what time it gets finished. These are described by perfect continuous tenses. There are 12 possible verb tenses. First, they are classified in three types: present, past and future. Then further they are classified into their four subtypes based on aspect verb: present indefinite, present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous. Then similarly, past indefinite, past continuous, past perfect and past perfect continuous. Then future, future indefinite, future continuous, future perfect or future perfect continuous. So in total we have 12 tenses in English grammar. Let's start with the first tense and its 4 types. First is present tense, and they are further classified into 4: present indefinite or simple present, present continuous or progressive, present perfect or complete, and the last one is present perfect continuous tense. Now we will discuss each of their structures with their uses with examples. First we have present indefinite tense. The simple present tense, present indefinite or simple present. The simple present is used to describe an action, an event or condition that is occurring in the present, that is at the moment of speaking or writing. For example, he goes to the library every day. That means this tense represents an action which is true at the time of speaking or writing. Now the basic form of present indefinite tense is subject plus first form of the verb plus s or es plus object. Now the question arises that where we have to use verb first form alone and where we have to use verb first form plus s or es. So let's see that where we have to use with which subject we will be using verb first form with s or es. So verb first form plus s or es will be used with he, she, it or any name. That means third person singular. And only verb first form will be used with I, we, you, they or third person plural. That means verb first form will be used with first person, second person and third person plural, whereas verb first form plus s or es will be used with third person singular. Negative sentences. So how we will frame negative sentences? For that, the structure is subject plus do or does plus not plus main verb plus object. For interrogative sentences, the auxiliaries or the helping verb, that is do or does, will come forward, then subject, then first form of the verb or the main verb or the base form of the verb plus object. Does. Now again the question comes that where we have to use does, that means with which subject, and where we will be using do. So does is used with he, she, it or any name, same as verb first form plus s or es, that is third person singular. Then where we have to use do, we will be using do with I, we, you, they or third person plural. So in this manner we are going to frame sentences for present indefinite tense. So examples of present indefinite tense. First is he drinks water. As the subject is third person singular, that is he, so we have used first form of the verb with s. He drinks water. Now change this into negative. Answer will be he does not drink water. Does used with third person singular. Now interrogative, the auxiliary or the helping verb, that is does, will come forward, then subject and object. Does he drink water? Next example, they read lessons. Now they, that is third person plural. Now change this into negative. They do not read lessons. Do, third person plural. Now change the same to interrogative. Now again the auxiliary will come forward. Do they read lessons? Next example, birds chirrup. Birds, third person plural. Birds do not chirp. Now interrogative sentence, do birds chirp? So in this manner we are going to write sentences for present indefinite tenses. Now let's see the uses of present indefinite tense. Now let's see the first use of present indefinite tense. Present indefinite tense is used to describe an action that represents some habitual action, daily routine or custom. For example, she walks to school every day. That represents what? That this is a kind of daily habit. So, present indefinite tense is used to express some habitual action, daily routine or custom. For example, I go out for a walk daily. She goes to school every day. Next use, facts and states or scientific truths. That means present indefinite tense is used to describe the scientific truth, the universal truth, the facts which is acceptable throughout the universe. For example, the earth goes around the sun. That is a scientific truth. One cannot deny it. The sun sets in the west. Another example which states that this is a kind of universal truth and we cannot deny on any ground. So, this is the use of present indefinite tense to express some general, permanent or scientific truths or facts. Next use we have schedules or programs. For example, the train leaves in an hour. That means they are used. This tense is used to describe the schedules or the programs at the time of speaking, which is true. Now, next use we have used to describe actions which are true at the time of speaking. That means this tense is used to express certain actions which are actually true at the time of speaking. For example, she studies in 8th class. That, for example, I can say our school reopens or our school opens at 9 a.m. these days. That is true, that these days the school is opening at 9 a.m. Next use we have to introduce quotation. To introduce the quotations or the sayings by the famous poets or by the famous philosophers. For example, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. That is a famous saying by Keats. So, to introduce quotations, we always use present indefinite tense. Then, another use we have to talk about jokes, stories, tales or sport events. For example, two people walk into a restaurant. That means to talk about jokes, sport events, we use present indefinite tense. Another use we have for instructions or directions. That means when we are guiding someone, right? So for giving instructions or directions, we use present indefinite tense. For example, open the packet and pour the contents into hot water. Here we have used present indefinite tense, and generally when we see the instructions or the directions to use or how to make on the back side of any packet that we brought from outside, the directions are written using this tense only. Now the next use we have for fixed arrangements, that is fixed, right? For example, our holiday starts on the 26th March. So this is for fixed arrangements. If I am telling to someone that okay, my holiday starts on the 26th March. Then another use we have with future constructions. That means sometimes it also denotes that something is going to happen in the future. For example, she will see you before she leaves. Right? So in such type of sentences also we use present indefinite tense. So they are the uses of present indefinite. Then we discuss the structure, the examples, and also the uses are also important in order to identify that in which type of sentence we are going to use which tense. Now let's see next tense of this present tense, that is present continuous tense, also known as progressive tense. The present continuous emphasizes the continuing nature, as the name itself suggests, continuous, that represents what? The continuing nature of an act, event or condition. For example, I am writing articles on different topics. That means the action or the event is in continuation, is still going on when the subject is speaking. Its basic form is subject plus auxiliaries. Which auxiliaries? Is MR plus first form of the verb plus ing plus object. So this is the basic form of present continuous tense. Now here we have used auxiliaries is MR. Now is will be used with singular subjects, am will be used with I only, and are is used with plural subjects. Now see, in affirmative if I am talking about, then I am, and if the verb is play, that means with first form ing, that becomes playing. So am, I am playing. If the subject is you, we or they, you are playing, we are playing, they are playing. If the subject is singular, then auxiliary is. He is playing, she is playing, it is playing. Now let's see for interrogative and negative sentences. For interrogative, the auxiliaries will come forward, like am I playing? That means am, then subject and then object. Are you playing? Are we playing? Are they playing? With singular subjects is. Is he playing? Is she playing? Is it playing? For negative, after your auxiliaries not will be supplied. For example, I am not playing, you are not playing, we are not playing, they are not playing. He is not playing, she is not playing, it is not playing. So in this manner we are going to frame sentences for present continuous tense. Now let's see the uses of present continuous tense. The first use we have to talk about the things. That means present continuous tense expresses an action that represents that things are happening now. For example, she is eating dinner right now and cannot answer the phone. That represents what? That the action, that means she is eating dinner right now, the action is happening now, that is at the time of speaking. Then another use of present continuous tense we have to talk about temporary events. For example, he is studying a new language at the moment. That means at the moment he is doing, that will not continue in the future. Right? Temporary events. He is studying a new language at the moment. Then another use we have a new pattern or habit. If we have developed a new habit, a new thing to do daily. For example, these days people are writing emails a lot, less than they used to a few years ago. That means this is a kind of a habit or a pattern that has been developed by people, and to talk about a new pattern or habit we always use present continuous tense. Next use of present continuous tense to talk about future plans. Example, when we arrive at the airport, we are taking a private car direct to the hotel. So to talk about the future plans, that what we are going to do at that particular moment in the future. Another use is used with the adverb always. For example, he is always asking questions. She is always crying. That means to represent a habitual habit with the adverb always. That represents the frequency. He is always found doing his homework. He is always found doing cooking. So, with the adverb always, we use present continuous tense. Now, the thing is that when we have to not to use this tense, it is important to bear in mind that you cannot use the present continuous for all events taking place in the present. There is an exception. And what is that exception? That we do not use it to describe events that happen normally or for a long time, because that becomes a habitual habit, and for such habits or for such expressions we will be using present indefinite tense. For example, I play the piano every morning. That is not a kind of new habit that is developed, or that is not a kind of temporary event. That is a habitual habit. So here simple present tense will be used. That is, sentence is correct. But if one is writing, I am playing the piano every morning, this is not correct unless it was a new habit that you had just started. If you have started a new thing, new habit, then in that case only we are going to use present continuous tense. Otherwise, if we are doing it for so long and that has actually become our daily habit, then we are going to use present indefinite. Now another tense we have is present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is used to describe action that began in the past and continues into the present or has just been completed. That represents the action that actually began in the past and continues into the present but now has just been completed. For example, they have written 3 letters already. Now let's see its basic form. Its basic form, or I can say the basic structure, is subject plus has have plus third form of the verb, that is past participle form of the verb, plus object. Now the question arises where we have to use has and where we have to use have, similar to do or does. So has is used with the subjects when the subject is he, she, it or any name, similar to does. And have is used with the subjects like I, we, you, they or any name. For negative sentences, we will be having subject plus has have plus not plus verb third form, that is past participle form of the verb, plus object. For interrogative sentences, has have will come forward, that is the auxiliary. Helping verb, it will come forward, then subject, then third form of the verb, then object. Now let's see the examples. He has drunk water. Subject he, third person singular, so has. Now negative, he has not drunk water. Has he drunk water? Another example, they have read lessons. Now here the third form, that is past participle form of read, is spelled same but pronounced different. It is read, read, read. So they have read lessons. Now negative, they have not read lessons. Interrogative, have they read lessons? Now another example. Now comes the uses of present perfect tense. So present perfect tense is used to describe a past experience. For example, I have visited South Africa last year. So to describe any kind of past experience that we had, we use present perfect tense. That we use such things, last year, last month, with such sentences. Another use, to express an action which began in the past and still continues. That means the action has not finished yet and is still continuing in the present. She has not seen her mother for 2 weeks. That means it is a fact and it is still continuing, that she has not seen her mother for 2 weeks. Another use, to describe an action the time of which is not given, when any suitable time or the latest time or specified time is not given. For example, she has left for Delhi. Another use, to describe any kind of change that has happened over a period of time. For example, you have grown since the last time I saw you. So, in such sentences, in such cases, when we are describing any kind of change, comparing it with the past time, we use present perfect tense. Then another use, to list the accomplishments, achievements of individuals and humanity. For example, man has walked on the moon. Our son has learned how to read. So, in such cases, when we are listing the accomplishments of any individual or humanity, then we will be using present perfect tense. Then another use we have, to describe an action which we expected has not happened. For example, James has not finished his homework yet. That means the expectation is this, that the action has not happened, and in such cases also we use present perfect tense. So we use for and since in present perfect tense sometimes to denote the duration of time, as for is used with the period of time and since is used at a particular point of time, like for few days, for half an hour, since last year, since last month, right? So sometimes we use for and since in present perfect tense, as this tense is used to talk about action which started in the past and continues up to the present. So this was about present tense, its 3 types, structure and usage. Now your homework is that you have to revise the structure and usage of present tense thoroughly, the uses of various tenses, the tense meaning thoroughly, and we have discussed in this lecture the 3 types of present tense only. So you are going to revise present tense, its 3 types, its meaning, structure and uses with examples.